And there we go. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are watching from. Hello and welcome to another exciting stream, hopefully. So I've done quite a bit of streaming yesterday because I released my Cubase Quickload template, and today is all about the same thing, but today we are looking at the Studio One version of the very same thing. So that means when we jump in here, this is the Studio One Quickload template, available via composingtutorials.com. .online, sorry, composingtutorials.online. And there's a link to the shop, because the shop is store.composingtutorials.com. That's why I messed that up a little bit. So yesterday was the Cubase template, and today is the Studio One 4.6 onwards template. Since I got a bunch of questions since yesterday, currently the template needs Kontakt 6, to be precise, Kontakt 6.2 and onwards. But I am currently looking into it, so I may provide alternatively or additionally to the download a Kontakt 5 version as well. Coming next week, I'll be looking into that, and hopefully I can provide some of you guys who are not on Kontakt 6 yet with the same thing, just as a Kontakt 5 version. So if you want to know more, head over to composingtutorials.online and hit the subscribe button on the newsletter so you can stay informed. If you also not have done so yet, hit that little subscribe button down there in the corner and that little bell so you get notified when we get live. Future schedule is definitely changing. I mean, I streamed a bit more now due to the release, but for the future, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, there will be a stream, sample library review, hands-on, some kind of stuff, every Wednesday. So mark your calendars. Without further ado, let's jump straight in. The Studio One Quickload template. I'm wondering how much I should go into the technicalities and what you need to do. But it's all pretty much explained and similar to what I explained in the Cubase walkthroughs, especially with setting up Kontakt and having 16 outputs available and stuff like that. But just for the sake of having that complete for the Studio One walkthrough, give me a quick moment. When you CDO shop templates, Studio One Quickload. So when you download, this is the file that you download when you get it, and there is a Kontakt Quickload folder, the project files for Studio One, the manual, and an empty Kontakt instance. This empty Kontakt instance is the first thing that you should do when you get this template, because not everyone has their Kontakt set up to have 16 outputs available, because we are using pretty much on some of the instances all 16 outputs for all 60 MIDI channels. So, and when you get this template, the easiest thing to do is just double click this thing. It will launch Kontakt. You unfortunately get a black screen there. It's just the administrator question. And all you got to do is go to outputs once this has loaded, and it loads with 16 outputs and routed to outputs, and then you go to save current output section state as default for all formats. Don't worry, it will not change anything in your behavior that you already have with your Kontakt and your projects. It just means that Kontakt has 16 outputs available. And then you can close the whole thing and you're done. So that is the preparation for Kontakt. And the second thing that you want to do to utilize this template, because this whole template is based around a way to easily and organized access the samples that you have available on your system. So obviously I cannot provide a quick load database with your sounds and samples, because I just don't know what sounds and samples you have. So what I try to do is to make that as easily accessible as possible. So when we look at the first Kontakt instance here, or let's look at the template overall in general. We can ignore the voiceover channel here, we don't need that. So this is what your template will look like when you get it. We have 15, I think, Kontakt instances, so strings, and each Kontakt instance is one group of instruments. So we have strings long, strings short, solo strings, brass, yada yada yada, percussion, keys, pianos, synth, guitars, bass, vocals, ethnic, sound effects, tonal, and sound effects. That should pretty much cover a broad range of possible styles a composer can work on. And if that is not enough, we will get to that at a later point, if you need to add instruments, etc. And all these MIDI channels represent one instrument in that specific instance of Kontakt. So for example, on the long strings, and it just opened on the other window. Here we have, let's get rid of the outputs for a second here. Here we have 16 empty MIDI channels. So that's why it's also called empty shell template. So 16 empty instruments, so to say. And every instrument is routed to its own audio return. So every MIDI channel, let me open that up a little bit. So we go to small, there we go. Every individual MIDI channel, as you can see here in this section, and especially here, has its own audio return. Violin 2, viola, cello, double bass, ensemble high, ensemble low, ensemble patch. And then the same thing again, because usually I tend to use more than one string patch. You can also use key switch patches, of course, to have more sounds available, but based on my experience from my workflow, I usually easily utilize these 16 tracks. And from here on out, you have instant access to the send effects. They're pre-set up for all the instruments. So for example, we have, let's quickly do that. Let's load a violin patch, something for the violins, say, what do we go with? Let's go with Heaviosity this time. So, pretty dry, there's nothing happening there. So, and first thing you can do is activate the reverb send. If you want to, you even have a delay. In case you need it. And for example, on the short strings, we have the same thing available, same settings and mixing possibilities, but now everything for the short strings. Reason being that it's separated, because I prefer to have separate control over short and long strings in terms of reverb amount. Technically, you could say you could still send them to the same reverb, but I prefer to just have that separated for the sake of organization. And when we look at the send effects here, you can see that we have string long delay, string short reverb, short delay, solo strings, and then brass, woodwinds, percussion, keys, and then there with the keyboards and pianos, we also get to utilize black hole as a special effect reverb, and same for synth, guitars, choir reverb, vocals, So all the reverbs are pre-routed and pre-set up. So when you decide to load an ethnic instrument, for example, we open that up and say, I need something ethnic. Let's go with Stressov since we did that recently. And I want to have some, what do we use? Boat string solo, let's go with this one. And we utilize this guy. Yay! That was a great demonstration of what should not happen in the Quickload. I think I moved the library to another drive. No, okay, let's take a different one. Then we utilize Bulgarian ethnic and go with this. So. So, and then we can say, okay, I really want to have that far, far away in a big, big space. And if you feel that's too big, then we can just go with a regular reverb. Or add a little bit delay for flavor. Actually, I would need to set up that delay differently, I just realized. I used the stock delay from Studio One for this one. You can easily swap out all the effects for your favorite effects and what you actually like to use. So I used the beat delay here. Let's put that on. What is the advantage of using multiple MIDI channels in each Kontakt instance as opposed to one instrument per Kontakt instance? Performance. Simple as that. Simple as that. If I would do this template in Cubase with 150 Kontakt instances instead of 15, first the file size of Cubase kind of triples or even quadruples. So it's like 4 or 5 times the size. And I built this template specifically in mind to be as lightweight as possible to have... I mean, you still need a pretty decent computer, but you don't need a high-end power machine to run it. So that way you have kind of the best of both worlds. You have the accessibility to the sounds. It is not the preloaded template, so you're not bound to sounds that are always there and you always use the same sounds. But also the accessibility is there that you don't need to jump into the mixer if you want to tweak the violin sound, for example. And want to say, okay, I want to get rid of a little bit of low end. And I decided for Slate for the third-party plugin version, because it is just so damn efficient on the CPU. So you just don't need much horsepower to run 150 instances of the Slate mix rack. So then we can bring in a little bit of high and maybe take out a little bit of the harshness. So that makes it very easy to quickly write. And the main important thing for me, unfortunately, I can't pronounce your name watching you live for the first time. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate it. So, Smart Tune Music. First of all, I want to thank you. I'm learning a lot from you and I will definitely purchase your template. That is very much appreciated. Go ahead right away. Ideally, buy both versions, Cubase and Studio One. It helps. I promise that. No, thanks for the support. I appreciate it. So you can, where were we? Easily access every channel, even if it's like 16, one Kontakt instance with 60 MIDI channels. There are some caveats. I give you that. There are some things that are easier with individual Kontakt instances, and there's also some stuff that is different in the Studio One template, where I had to adjust the manual because that does not work the same way as in Cubase. For example, in Cubase, it's totally easy. If you run out of channels, I showed that in the other stream about the Cubase template. So when you say, I don't have enough brass, in Cubase you can just right-click and duplicate the folder, and then it duplicates that Kontakt instance with all the routings intact for the new version, and everything works. So the problem with this is that when you want to add a new or duplicate the brass, for example, you need to manually create a new instance. Because when you duplicate this right now as it is, it creates like 6 new Kontakt instances and the routing is totally messed up. So unfortunately, Studio One doesn't handle it the way Cubase does, which is not really an issue at all. You can just right click and add a new track. In this case, which will be an instrument track. We call it Brass 2 for the sake of being consistent. And the main important thing is that we want to not use an existing instrument, but take a new instrument, load Kontakt, and hopefully soon it's going to be Kontakt 5, and hit OK. So now we have a new version of Kontakt. Let's that move out of the folder. So we have a new version of Kontakt here. And I can route that to the high brass or to the brass. I didn't even separate high and low brass. See? Do you have an idea how to integrate the Quickload you created with the one that is already active on my system? Good question, and it's pretty easy. Let me get back to that in a second. Well, not really integrate. If you already have a Quickload in place with all your libraries organized, there's no way to easily integrate that. You still need to move your instruments that you have in your Quickload into the folders that I provide. I mean, you don't need to. Technically, you could use this template and not use my Quickload at all. You can still use your Quickload. This is just my attempt of organizing things and having it easily accessible, since it's synced to the group. So when I am on, say, on the strings short, and I want to load in high ensemble short sound, then I just know that I click this button here and go to strings and can load my high ensemble short sound. For example, orchestral tools, high strings short. So in that way, and the routing is already in place to its corresponding groups. On the summing tier, you will see that it already ends up in the high string short stem. So, but to answer your question, when you unpack the included, so this is what's included. When you look at the Kontakt Quickload, actually let me quickly unpack that here. So this is the Quickload that comes with a template, and it says copy the Quickload folder inside. So technically you would put that instead of your own Quickload folder. And in the instruments, you see the same stuff that I have here in my Kontakt. This is the Quickload pretty much. But the difference is that I provided all these developer folders just as a starting point, but these are all empty, so there's nothing in there. Because obviously you need to cultivate it with the libraries that you have accessible on your system. If you don't want to have it that way or want to use your own Quickload, you're absolutely free to do so. This template is not non-functional when you don't use the Quickload. You can still use your own Quickload. The template still does its job. It's just a matter of how you yourself organize and know your Quickload. If you have been working for years with a Quickload and you know it inside out, then there's no need to change it to the one that comes with the template. Then just use the one you have. And you can still utilize the system and put the corresponding instrument into the empty shells that are provided for you. But the other way would be that you can copy this Quickload folder as it is and just paste that instrument folder into your existing Quickload. That would mean that you have your Quickload like down here, and you would have these on the top if yours don't start with numbers, since it's alphabetically sorted. So you can still integrate the one that I provide into your existing Quickload, and then your stuff would be just down here. So bunch of ways how that can be done and how it's possible. So back to the additional Kontakt instance that we did for the brass. Let me close that here. So back to the brass. And there's a few things that we want to do. First of all, we want to load the multi. So we have all the stems available and all the routings in place. If we look at the outputs, we can see that this is now horns go to horns, trumpet to trumpet, trombones to trombones, etc. So that's a little bit important to say like that. And then the other thing that you want to do is bring in the mixer. Actually, let me put that down into the screen. There we go. Bring in the mixer. I don't want to see the inputs, but I want to see the instruments. So we just duplicated this brass 2. Where is it? Here. That's the one we created, and it's not named yet. Depending on how many outputs you need to activate these outputs. Like you can see here. So these are now these 4, 5. These are the new outputs. And if you want to be as German as I am, what you want to do is color code it correctly. So when these are all brass channels, let me actually open that up. So these are brass channels. So we turn them to brass color. And one thing that unfortunately is not seen here. Oh, it is seen here. Yeah, we want to see the input controls. So you see every channel, besides the impact because it's insanely loud, every input channel sits at -5. That's my starting point to come up with a proper gain staging. So when you bring up a new instrument, you want to make sure that you bring these to -5 as well on the pre-gain. If you don't know where you can access that, it's that little wrench icon on the mixer, and then you say input controls, and there you have the pre-gain that you can set. Because usually, I explained that in the Cubase video as well, lots of libraries come with a volume set close to the max, close to 0 dB, and when you pull that all in there, then you easily cross the threshold for clipping the master bus and also clipping the plugins that you work with. So ideally, most plugins usually work best between when they're hit between -18 and -12, -10 dB gain. So talking about that, I created this. You got the Cubase template. Thanks so much for buying it. Unfortunately, I still keep in answering in English, even if you write in German, because that's just a little bit more convenient for the rest of the viewers. Might be tough for me to switch to German now. So we had the brass here, then I switched this to send the rest of the tracks to its corresponding output, to the brass, and I can set up the send effects right away as well. if I knew how to do it here. Where are my sound effects? How do I show this sound effect? I always work with the mixer on the other screen. That's why I don't use it there. And to be honest, I don't really use Studio One that often. But since I got so many requests for this since yesterday, I got a bunch of requests for the Studio One template, and I've been working on that right away. So it's not like I did that today and just released it. So I've been working on that quite a while, in the same vein as on the Cubase template. Oh, wait a second. Sorry. I tried to get the mic away. In Cubase, I have a shortcut to mute the mic channel. Oh, damn it. Cheers. I will make sure to cut that out from the video afterwards. Sorry for that. So overall, long story short, that's the principle of adding new instruments. Make sure to put it on -5 in the pre-gain, route it to its corresponding group. For example, when I want to do something different than cinematic stuff today, so maybe we try some other stuff working with easy bass and some drums or stuff like that. Make sure to route it to its corresponding subgroup, and if you want to, you can set up the synths. Should everything be pretty straightforward. For now, what I want to do is bring the mixer back over there to my other screen. I think you can still see it a little bit in the picture. So out there, that's where I have the mixer usually. So, and I want to get rid of this guy. I don't need that for now. So we're gonna remove the track and instrument. That's done. Can close the ethnic again. Actually, let me reset that. And by the way, when you loaded something or want to reset, that's pretty easy as well. You just click back and forth on the multi, and then you're back to the empty setting. Boom. Close the horns, close the ethnic. So let's work a little bit in it, shall we? Interestingly enough, so that's pretty much the same setting as in Cubase, but Studio One takes less CPU than Cubase with the same system. So the same amount of send effects and insert effects, etc. And Cubase for me is sitting at around 40%, and Studio One is sitting at 20%, which is pretty good. So I'm impressed by that. Let's reset the strings. Why is that not working? Template, strings, short. There we go. Close that. And strings long, we had some stuff there as well. So let's reset that too. Back and forth, and there we go. Empty. One little thing to mention, and I have prepared that already. When you start to build your Quickload and you have quite a bunch of libraries already, the bigger Quickload gets, the longer Kontakt takes when you open it up to build this surrounding and have access through this little arrow here. Actually, let me show you what happens. So because what I did, I have a second instance of the instrument and I have pinned that to keep this editor open. And I just move that to the side because when one instance of Kontakt is open, then this, what I'm about to show you, will not happen. So when you don't have that open, so right now everything is good. I have opened the Kontakt instance. I can access all the instruments right away. I mean, I have a huge library, so the Quickload is very big, and so it takes a little bit of time. As long as you have one Kontakt open, it is accessible instantly. The problem is when you don't have that pinned version open, and you close it. And now I immediately open Kontakt again. And we have the spinning wheel, and I can't access the Quickload anymore until it's loaded again completely. So the solution for that is to select one of the Kontakt instances, and you can even create an empty dummy instance that you open up and move the window somewhere out of the way where you don't see it. So hopefully you have at least have two screens. And even if you don't have two screens, you can like move it like this, so at least it's out of the way. So, and so as long as you have one instance open, it will keep the database active. I actually plan to write to Native Instrument about that, because I think it's kind of hilarious that it needs to reread the whole database every time you open Kontakt. It's kind of disappointing a little bit, but it's the behavior Kontakt has, and I just want to make you aware of that. If you want to keep your database, your Quickload active, which is kind of the heart and soul of this whole template, to be immediately able to access when I say I open the percussion, want to load a mid percussion sound here, open that up, go to mid percussion and want to load. So I don't want to sit here, wait, loading. So right now, unfortunately, we have to wait a little bit till Kontakt is done with that thing. Let me check here. Where are we? There we are. Studio One. So, okay, there we go. Now the whole Kontakt instance is back on track. So I will use the sound effect one, pin that, and just move it out of the way. So now it's gone. I can forget about it, and now what happens is when I activate, I want to load a mid percussion sound, don't even need that, go to mid percussion and immediately have the menu available, no matter if I close that instance or not. So something to keep in mind. Say I want to load a synth arp sound, open that up, go to synth arp and can directly jump into it. And all this because of the fact that I keep one Kontakt instance open in the background. Actually, let's load something here. Elysian. Oh, there we go. So since we want to have an ARP sound, sorry, I think I got rid of my mic a little bit. So, by the way, I got someone telling me that the mic level was not fine, so I hope it's good for you guys. So let me know if there are any issues. Don't like that one. Not sure if we start with that. Yeah, the question stands. What are we gonna do today? Something more quiet, something more action-driven. I don't want to go too orchestral. I did that in the last two streams. One was a little bit trailerish vocal. Maybe if we try something more sound designy, a little bit more edgy. What do you think? That's something we want to look at. Could start with a loop. Let's see what we can find. Loops. Daniel stuff. Output. This is the library we are going to look add on Wednesday, by the way. The unfolding sun. Very cool stuff. I haven't done a lot with the umlaut motors, so let's see if we can do something with that. Actually, that's not the one I was looking for. They have another one, umlaut. U-beat. There we go. Let's start with U-beat. Mm. 90. Let's try some kids. Nope. Nah, I don't like that. That one's pretty cool. Cool thing about that, you can grab that MIDI and drag it right away in here. Okay, stop. So I don't want to have a loop. I still need to get used a little bit to the atom. So I think I need to raise my own volume a little bit, turn myself a little bit down, so I hope that's better. Let's go with a pre-made loop there. That's what they did. Okay, that's starting point. Let's go with some synth RP stuff. Not Elysian. I want to use output. No, loops and other output. RevX loops. Nah. Oh. That's rather something for bass instead of arp. Some nice stuff in there. Okay, let's go with. I like that. Let's go with a filter. Learn that for mod wheel. Let's go with E on this one. So click is on. Okay. Move that guy onto the grid. I think we can move that one a little bit down. No. Close. So used to Cubase there. So I want to have CC7 in there. There we go. Honestly, I have to admit, I don't like the fact that I'm so used to values 0 to 127. So, again, pre-Sonnet is not my first DAW of choice, but that's what we are in right now. And I know there are others who love it to bits. So at least I want to provide what's necessary to work in that environment. For the bass, let's do something more with mosaic bass, since we got that recently. I actually need to revisit my last Cubase stream. Not that I'm using the same patch as the last time, but I like that one. It sounds pretty good. I'm just not sure if that's the one I used on the last stream. Fuck it, I just go with that one. So, give me the click. There we go. So, should be good enough to get going. Quantize that. What's the mod wheel saying? Sounds good to me. Looks good to me. Studio One user here. Quickload has been a godsend for me, but open to see if they create something else template-wise. So, how do I copy this? Well, not exactly like this. There we go. I think I can delete some of these guys. So that looks legit. I still want to hit enter to close the view because that's what my Cubase command does. Yeah. I think I went down a little bit too far. So gonna move that up and delete these guys and move that there. One question, since we have Studio One users here, Cubase has a setting that the MIDI note plays even if I don't play it from the start. So if you listen to the bass here, so play from the beginning, but when I play from here, nothing plays. Cubase triggers that MIDI note no matter where you started. It always triggers that MIDI note from the beginning. If there's a setting in Studio One where I can set that up the same way to behave, I simply don't know. And I find it strange when I, for example, when I have a 4-bar MIDI note and I start in the middle, then nothing keeps running until it gets re-triggered. Especially when you have held string chords or something like that. Why do you always need to play MIDI notes from the beginning? It's available, it's an option, but off by default. If somebody could tell me where I can find that, I would be so grateful. So when we go to Studio One options, general, I guess. Appearance? No. Is it advanced? MIDI. Is it chase long notes? Let's try that. What does it do when I say chase long notes? Oh, it doesn't work when I have that window open. Oh, that's it. That's it. Wow. Okay. Fixed. Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, that's much appreciated. Thank you very much. That helps. So I need to move these guys a little bit. Oh, okay. All the edit functionality that I know from and love from Cubase is not available here, so we gotta improvise. Gonna move this guy up there. There we go. And this guy here. That's fine. I've been using Studio One for years only. Yeah, Cubase has that right away. Okay. That would be another thing. Can I not chase the playhead when I click somewhere? So I want to be able to play that and click here without it jumping there. Is that possible? Well, still a long way to go with Studio One there, but for me at least. So let's load some stuff here. Let's keep going. String. No, actually, let's do some guitar on this one. It sounds like it could use a little bit of guitar. So, and I always wanted to use a little bit of the refinement stuff. Haven't used that much. So, go to guitars, audio fire, refinement. And I got all 5. I think they have 2 new versions coming. Let's go with the 2 one, which is the metal one, I think. So let's see what we can do here. insanely huge Kontakt GUI. And very loud. Let's bring that down to -10 in the pre-gain. Oops. The only thing I don't really like their preset guitar tones, but they provide the I versions, so we can use whatever guitar tone we like. But for pre-listening to what kind of riff I'm looking for, it's good enough. Something like that? I'm not sure. It's obviously not. So that's at 9. So that's pretty cool. So with this, you can change the chords. So you hit it hard, you get a 9. Then here you get a minor. When you hit it harder, you get a -7. And then up here you get power chords and diminished, and up here you get sharp 5 and so these patches are pretty cool to create a nice little rhythmic pad. So let's, and then so that's pretty cool. I like that. But in rhythm formation. And then you also have different rhythms available. Okay, let's take this one. How do I do that? Don't want to move it out of the way. Okay, okay, I know how. Let's move that quickly out of the way. We start with, let's do 4 bars. And we lay down that rhythm note from the get-go, that trigger note, which is, and have that running for all the 4 bars. So good. And now we can trigger the different chords when I just record on top of it. and I need to start here. No, here. You see what it does, to what chord it changes here. So add 2, minor, power chord, -7. These are the 2 I go with now. Something like that. And then quantize the whole thing. Bring that back a little. No, I want to have a minor there. Just here, I want to switch it. sus4. Okay. You didn't see that change when I changed the volume there. It changed to sus4 here. So can close that, and can cut that there. And then we can ask the virtual mix rack, do you have something for a rock guitar? So let's try the heavy guitar setting. Maybe that works straight away. And then we can duplicate the whole thing. We can add a little bit of delay and a little bit of, wow, I didn't know that we can send the sends left and right. Learned something new right now, just by accident. As Bob Ross used to say, a happy little accident. So. That's strange. Why didn't it trigger? Maybe I need... Ah, yeah, I think because that is a tad too long. Yeah, it cut off the node. So just want to make, I think that's like something with a refinement, how that works. So that one has way too much bass. Gonna clean that up a little. Not a little. Get rid of the bass. I think that's fine. Way less distracting in the low end. That means I can bring down the guitars even a little bit more. And by the way, the preset doesn't really work. It makes the sound a little bit too sharp. So yeah, goes up in the high. It's very gnarly. See a different sounds that works better. not entirely sound with the overall guitar sound there, but we could load the DI patch and change the guitar sound there, but let's keep going for now. I know that Heaviosity has some great stuff that I can layer on top there. Go to Percussion, Heaviosity, no, to loops, Heaviosity. DM307. Actually, it might be damage. Yeah, layer that on top. A little bit quieter. It's a little bit up front. Okay, let's try that. I like that. That's pretty cool. Where's my node? There we go. And want to cut that. So just making sure we don't hang over there. Duplicate. Maybe change up the guitar rhythm on the second run through a little bit. So let's not start with a... That's the minor 7. I want to start with that sus4 that we ended with. And then I want to do the sus2. Okay. So, solo that for a quick minute. And the last one, we're gonna cut that as well, just to make sure it doesn't trigger on the one. So, okay, that's fine. Gonna listen to the percussion for a short moment on its own. Okay, I need to. Oh, funny you mentioned that. Tweaking without hearing anything. Tweaking the compressor for 15 minutes to realize that it wasn't bypass all the time. Was the wrong loop. This one is the one I want to trigger. They're very similar, so I got distracted. Yeah, very bad attitude there on this one. I'm gonna do the same on this one. Give it a little bit of grit. But this time not with this one, but with maybe London up front. Yep. I want to cut a little bit of the low end on this one because we get the low end from the other one. And still cut a little bit more. So let's see this one together with the other one. Unsolo everything. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Good enough to start with. Here now there's a little bit more room in the low end. That means we can actually bring in a proper bass or something. I just not sure yet what we're doing. So I could either load easy bass or I have an idea. Let's try. Oh, I just realized a mistake. That should be bass A and that should be bass E. So I need to update that file. In case you bought it at store.composingtutorials.com, you will get an update message very soon. So I'm going to update that. That should not be loops and bass. That should bass acoustic and bass electric. So let's go. Guitars, Dream Audio Tool. Let's go with the I always love the repetitive bass. The distorted ones. I'll bring that down a little bit. Not sure how that works. Let's see. I think there's a setting where I can jump back. Okay, not there. Anyway. Yay for Studio One. I feel so lost in here. That sounded pretty cool. A little bit. I just want to have a little bit of movement in the bass line there. It's all based on D minor and just playing around. So there was a C in there. There was a B flat in there. So still again, let's ask Classic Strip if we have a bass preset here. Bass guitar. Let's try the second one. That takes out a lot of highs. I actually like the highs in this bass. Oh, okay. Now we're getting there. Oh, that's gnarly. I like that. Where is that coming from? Why are we so loud? I like what that is doing to the sound. But we need to bring it down a little bit. I could also just grab the fader and bring it down a little bit, but fader is kind of last resort for me. Needs to happen a lot before I touch that. I love to keep these at 0 and do everything in MIDI and on other places. Strange thing about me, I know. So now let's bring a second layer on top here on the guitar with a, I think Native Instruments can help us here. With the electric sunburst. No, not the melody part. Sorry, I meant the other one. Takes ages to load anyway. There we go. There is like a high overlay patch in there that plays higher chords. Not this one. I like that one. Let's see what that sounds like when we put it on top. Well, black hole is not the right one for this. That sounds pretty cool. I like that. Quantize. So, see what we did there. Just checking the guitars and bass on their own. Nice sound, I like that. Actually want to bring in, I mean, maybe that you don't have that, but that doesn't really matter because now I'm working on my system, so you don't necessarily are just bound to the plugins that are in there. You can, of course, load all your own stuff in the own you use all the time. So just want to bring in balance control, see a little bit how that behaves. Let's keep it at bass heavy. Yeah, 2K, there's a little bit in the guitars that I don't really like. And this is actually a great showcase where we can look into the summing groups. So the guitars, both of them get summed up in the E-guitar group here. So I can solo that and have both guitars at the same time. And I can say, okay, on this I just want to have a little bit of Pro Q3. That one is the... Yeah, in that area here. That is a little bit harsh, and but I don't want to tame it too much, so I'd rather put it on a dynamic EQ. Bring it down a little bit. I can also tame the high end a little bit. So. And to be honest, I think I would rather put that on the stemming tier, meaning on the guitars here, because then it affects the send effect as well. So I'm grabbing that and move it onto the guitars. So there it is, and then I can delete it here on this guitar patch. So now it affects the reverb as well. Right here. It's subtle, but a little bit more controlled. I want to put some weird synth stuff on top there. So take all of these, the whole thing. And what the great thing, in my opinion, about this template is we have all these slots available, but they don't eat friggin' bread. So the empty Kontakt instances don't take much RAM, versus a fully blown template would eat up all the RAM when you load all the strings and everything, and say you work in a track where you actually don't need any strings at all, so no need to have them loaded. But if you want to, you have them quickly and easily accessible, and say, okay, I can use some short strings here on top of that. Actually quite some quite aggressive ones. So I go to the ensemble pad and say, okay, let's load LA scoring strings, for example, which are ultra aggressive. Audio Bro, LA scoring strings, ensemble patches. Let's go with a spiccato. Low. Give me a moment. I'm gonna check something. Okay. I have a funny idea. I collapse and expand folders and that reflects in the mixer window. It does, true. Yeah, right. Actually, I was thinking quite a lot because that's very different in Studio One. In Cubase, when you create a bus folder in something, it automatically appears in the window here as well. Which in Studio One it doesn't. So you need to create I manually did that. You need to manually create automation channels to have these buses and effects available in the arranger view. But yeah, when you grab the template, this is already there, and you don't need to set that up on your own. It's already done. So this one is ready to go, so to say. No need to do that on your own. Someone just bought something in the shop. Yay! Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Xavier composes music. Good day. Good day, Xavier. I just heard some badass high string patch there on top, but not less. Actually, let's try some other stuff. Let's try maybe Albion or something like that, Spitfire. Do we have something there? Sure, Albion. Ensemble full. Strings short. And don't be afraid to utilize that stuff and actually overdrive it or try some settings that are not typical. Of the room, so I'm going to bring the release down. That's not enough for my taste. So I'm going to the not to the mapping editor, but to the modulation. This is okay, where is that? I'm not a Kontakt Pro. I was under the assumption that this is the attack, decay, sustain, and release. But it seems it's not. Sometimes I add libraries in my Quickload, but when I use the Quickload to access those instruments, I do not find them in the Quickload. Does that happen with you too? To be honest, no. I'm not really sure where that should be coming from. Maybe because of Kontakt 5 and 6, maybe you have two versions and did the no, sorry, I cannot really say that I experienced that or have an idea where that might be coming from. Sorry to say. Too bad. Can't help you there. Sorry. At least I haven't experienced it yet. In this case, I feel I need something more oomph. So, not double lock. What is it? Sound Toys? Come on. Forgot the name. Decapitator. There we go. Decapitator. That's me. Correct. Something like that. Not exactly that. And of course, does actually Studio One have this retroactive MIDI recording? Is it retroactive? No. Like recapturing what you just played? I think Studio One does not have that, right? I like that one. Did you know that panning the sensor is separate from the panning on the track? I actually just learned that by, as Bob Ross used to say, happy accident at the point when I grabbed this one instead of the actual send effect. So, yeah, learned something new there, that you can pan the send effects, which is pretty cool. Was that in time? Well, these two definitely were not. These neither. Yeah, that was two notes. Nope. Needs to go there. Okay. So it's very bitey right now because of all the drive that we put there on top. So I'm just lowering that now. Could be like an in-game boss fight kind of thingy, game soundtrack loop. We could also say we bring that second loop in only on the second round. So mute these. To give it a little bit more oomph there. Would add other percussion there. Let's do that in a second. Okay, let's add a little bit of stuff here. Medusa. Yeah, to be honest, this is really doing a stream with Studio One is absolutely out of my comfort zone. I do have it. Sometimes I like it for that like EDM style production with a pattern editor. Therefore, it's really good. But this kind of stuff is really where I leave my comfort zone. I can do that while asleep in Cubase, but with Studio One, I really have to concentrate hard to work that kind of stuff. So Sketchpad, I know that it exists, but I am happy if I kind of come through this queue without a black eye, you know. Actually, we can use the keyboard view here. Oops. I should deactivate that CC11 when I'm working with the Atom. So something like that. I want to have the click, please. Oh, damn it. There we go. I'm not a finger drummer. Okay, the rest I quantized. And again, Boss Raw strikes and maybe provides a happy little accident. I think I have auto quantize activated for recording. Wow. What are you saying? It sounds gorgeous. Didn't do anything wrong. Some car alarm is going on outside. Unfortunately, you can't really see. I actually tried to turn my studio to blue today, but it still looks purple for whatever reason. I don't know why. Let me change that. Can we try green? What about green? And maybe just change the colors to give a little bit of movement there. I need more LEDs in the studio. It's still too bright, too dark. You can't see that on the video. And the light on the camera is slowly dying, so I'm getting darker and darker. I'm sorry for that. It's a battery-driven camera, and I need to get a new light that is actually USB-driven and does not need a battery. So, what does it sound like? And we need some decent cymbals. So I just hope that it's not my car that's running, I'll say. Sure, as been asked before, what is your software you use to capture video and audio? I use OBS Studio to get all the video done and all the overlays and all that stuff. And audio, I am lucky in that regards, because the problem with pretty much any streaming software is that it doesn't see the ASIO stream from the DAW. So you cannot directly output the DAW into your streaming software to get it out into the world, neither Mac nor Windows. So either you have a sound card like I have, the RME supports a so-called loopback function. So I'm routing this is the general audio signal, well, right now on my headphones. So this is my output from my DAW, as you can see. And I can route that to another channel, to another output. So here it's duplicated onto this one, and then I have a loopback function. And on my OBS that captures the video, I have an audio return that gets its signal from channel 5.6. Okay, now the car alarm stopped, thank God. And so that's the easy way. If you don't have a audio card that supports this loopback function, then there is a website or a plugin or a software pretty much that is called Voice Meter. And this is, here you have the link, bbaudio.com. This thing is incredibly hard to set up, so it's a lot of RTFM, but once that works, it's kind of the same functionality. So you send the ASIO signal in here, and then it translates that into a Windows VDM audio stream, and then your screen capture software can see that audio. So that is pretty much the only way, unless you want to go the analog way where you just go with the cable and then back into the, but that always sounds like garbage. So you don't want to do that. So oops, duplicated. Just wanted to deactivate the click. Thank you for buying the template. Thank you for buying it. Much appreciated. In case anyone is wondering, it is store.composingtutorials.com. It is available for $29. Intro pricing goes to $39 next Friday. And I also have a new thing coming already that a lot of you will probably really like. I don't know if I already named it in the QA stream. If I didn't, I will keep my mouth shut. I don't know, but it's another template that goes even a step further for your convenience and for your workflow, and to get you going fast and rather focus on writing than all the technicalities that go along with building a template. So I actually gonna get close to finishing this one. I just wanted to show you how this whole thing works. It's overall, it's pretty similar to the Cubase version. It's not that much of a difference, but there are some things that Studio One does not handle as good as Cubase does. Then there are some things that are actually better in Studio One than they are in Cubase. And so both have different manuals, because some of the stuff that applies to the Cubase template does not apply to the Studio One template. There, like, for example, duplicating the folders. It would be way more easy in Studio One if it did that, but it doesn't. So we gotta live with what we have. But I tried my best to get this template as convenient as possible to get you going fast, and don't think about routings and mixing. Mixing indeed, because you have either the slate. By the way, there is the stock plugin version, and I like the Studio One stock plugin version even better than the Steinberg one, the Cubase one, because Studio One has the fat channel, which kind of gives you similar results to the slate stuff. So the fat channel is really good in Studio One. I'm not going to open that up right now because that takes too much time to get my mic back up running, but you know the gist. So it's when you have a, let's take the ethnic one here, and instead of having slate sitting here in the channel, you actually have the fat channel. In every channel of these audio returns, and this is a really good thing. You have 3 different compressors. The FET, I love that one, especially on drums. You have 3 different equalizers with a Pultec style EQ and a vintage EQ, and also the standard EQ. And all this stuff works really good. So there is not much that you can complain about, and even a limiter per track. So the stock version gets you pretty similar results. I mean, I used I think the room reverb that is included in Studio One for the stock version. That is a little bit of a questionable choice. That thing rings like an aluminum bucket, like an old metal bucket. But well, it's the stock reverb, and you can always change it to whatever you prefer. Other than that, same thing as the Cubase template. Can you do something for Logic? I will try my best to come up with an idea. I mean, my wife has a MacBook, and I do have Logic on that because I needed to. You didn't see the fat channel, did you? Sorry. So here, the fat channel in the stock version. Everything is there that you need. With this whole thing, you can tweak any kind of track pretty much, for the most part. Sorry, there you go. But yeah, it sounds like that. That stock reverb from that one is better in Cubase, for example, the stock room verb. So Cubase or Studio, which do you prefer? I cannot really say which I prefer. The functionality is pretty much the same, and I am just used more to Cubase. I've been working in Cubase for the last, I don't know, 18 years, I think. So I just know the gist and the inside out of the program. It's just my second nature. So it's tough to leave that for other DAWs. It's like that meme that going around the internet with that guy looking for something else. So it's like me going hand in hand with Cubase and watching to PreSonus. I mean, over time, you look at, and PreSonus has some stuff that I do rather here than in Cubase, like the EM productions that I did, the Tropical House stuff that I had on my stream, the night session. this was really cool and this was fun, and I love the pattern editor. I really, really hope that Steinberg comes up with something similar for version 11 by the end of the year. So I love a decent pattern editor. It's so convenient to work with, and the one that Studio One developed is really, really good. That is really fun to work with. For this template, I cannot really tell you which one I would prefer. I love working with Impact, especially with the Atom. There's some reality stuff that I rather do in Studio One because of the ease of the workflow. So I would even take down the other drum kit and turn it into more some like so just with that. So I can neither go one or the other way. I have both because I have applications where sometimes I use this and sometimes I use that. And having that template now obviously makes it easier to have it also compatible. For example, let's say I write a track and amidst the track I realized that I actually rather would want to work with that in Cubase. What I could do is I don't need to reload everything and start from the get-go. I could, let's say, pretend I would have loaded like 6, 7 different sounds. I could easily just save that as percussion for this specific song, and back in Cubase, open up, bring in the MIDI, and then just load the Kontakt multis that I had in this track, and then the only thing left would be to adjust the EQ settings and the sense settings. So it's relatively compatible in between these two different applications because the MIDI channels and the routings and everything is the same in both programs. So that's another cool thing to consider. So if you collaborate with someone who's on Cubase and you're on Studio One, you have a good chance of being able to run the same, so given you have the same sounds, of course. So that's pretty much it. I didn't write a full cue today, but to be honest, I'm a little bit tired. It was a long 2 days. But I think that sounds pretty decent. Let's tweak the stereo bus a little bit. Sahari, please don't look at that. Well, know what? Fuck it. Let's do Ozone its job. Good question. The difference, okay, what do you change in the reverbs between the different sections? There is not much of a difference. For the most part, it's actually the same reverbs throughout. So why are they hidden? I do not understand. So let's take, for example, in the third-party version, like here where I use Valhalla, the orchestral stuff is usually pretty much the same setting. So this is my favorite reverb ever for orchestral stuff. It's the medium R Hall preset. When you load that, halls, medium R Hall, but then change it to modern, not to 70s. I love that preset. Don't touch anything else. Just use it. On strings, on brass, on woodwinds, it just sounds amazing. So the brass reverb, as you will see in a second, is the friggin' same thing. So why don't I use just one reverb? Well, reason being is that I use the reverbs per stemming group. So when I stem out the... Oh, I didn't talk about that, by the way. The same as in Cubase. So if I want to mix down the track... I can export the full stems. Well, first of all, I can say none. And with the underscore, I know which ones are the stems. So I can now select all the stems at once and render out, so the same way as Cubase does. So that is pretty convenient. And these stems contain the reverb. So, and if I would just have one reverb for the strings and for the brass combined, then I wouldn't be able to render the stems simultaneously. So that's why the strings have their own reverb, gets sent to the string long bus and to the string short bus, and the brass gets sent to the brass bus, etc. So that's the reason why I have different reverbs. But sometimes I do change the settings as well. So for example, I think the keys reverb is different. I think I changed something there. Did I? Let me check. Before I say anything else, no, it's the same one on the keyboards, on the synth. It's the same one as well. So lazy, it's always this. I think the choir, yeah, the choir I changed, just gave it. I changed the choir very much. I just increased the decay by 0.4 seconds. So keep in mind, this is a starting point. With such a general approach on template, you cannot have the one-size-fits-all solution for everyone. Everyone has different tastes, and it starts with a choice of what reverb to use. Sometimes people use 3 different reverbs on one stem, and that will triple the amount of existing reverbs already in here. I try to keep it as simple as possible with getting as good sounding results as possible as quickly as possible. So that's the main reason behind the different reverbs. It's really just for stemming purposes. Otherwise, if I would need the stems in the end, I could just slap on one reverb, one delay, one long reverb, and send everything to its corresponding sound depending on what I need. Finishing off, slamming some ozone on the master. I'll let ozone do its job. There we go. Watch your speakers, it may get a little bit louder while ozone is, I turn it down a little. So let's ozone figure out what we need to do, or what it needs to do. I go in here where we bring in the second drums, so we get a little bit of beef going on. Modern sounds good, medium, streaming, let's listen. Haha, no extreme dynamic range detected. How come? So that's what ozone is doing. Lots of high end coming in, a little bit cut on the low end, which we could argue about. I actually like that low end there. The dynamic EQ, I have the feeling that that mysterious dynamic EQ that ozone puts is the same on every preset. It's just that always seems like kind of placebo. I don't know. It looks like it's always the same setting, no matter where you slam it on. And then the maximizer. It says it's classic sound. I doubt that. I think it's rather modern. And it slammed it pretty hard, so we can bring it down a little bit. And if you imagine, like, well, not Doom, but any kind of first-person shooter hunting for bad guys, and you're getting close into the dark hole, getting ready to fight the big boss. He's waiting for you, and you prep for battle. That's kind of the sound I have in mind there. forgot the cymbals. Well, due to ozone, we have a kind of 30-minute delay. I can get a coffee between I hit the key and the sound rings. Yeah, ozone is like, what is it, 300 milliseconds or something? So yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you're interested, the one last hint there, I mean, it's my channel, so I can do as much as commercial and advertising as I want. Store at composingtutorials.com. $29 intro price for the template, goes to $39 next Friday midnight, so Thursday to Friday, July 2nd, whatever. Next Friday it will turn to $39, and the best you can do is jump over to the store and buy it. It would be just a bad decision to not buy it. Believe me, I built it. So, yeah, and you have the choice between Cubase and Studio One. If you happen to be one of the lucky guys that has Cubase and Studio One available on your system, get both. And other than that, there will be an update relatively soon. Well, at least I try to do it, because right now you need Kontakt 6.2, the latest version, for this template to work. But I will try to include a Kontakt 5 version as well, so that you are not necessarily forced to get the new Kontakt version just because I built such an incredible template that is the best thing since sliced bread, and you want to have it and you don't have Kontakt 6. I don't want you to sit in a corner and cry. So I will try my best to come up with a solution for you to have the same thing, but with a Kontakt 5 version. What do you think? Maybe you can buy it right away, and then you just get an automatic update notification once I have the Kontakt 5 version online. So then you don't need to worry about having the money back in the day when it's finally done. You can buy it already, and then you get it when it's done. Sounds good, doesn't it? So, Kontakt 5 coming soon, I promise that. I do everything I can to do that ASAP. So, guys and girls, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching the stream. I really, really appreciate that. And that was fun. That was 3 long streams in a row. Cubase, and Studio One now. Head over to the website. If you haven't done so, hit that little subscribe button and the bell. And if you don't have any money to buy a template right now, but if you maybe have $5 available a month, head over to my Patreon page. You can help that channel with Patreon as well. And there are some goodies too on there, like my favorite piano patch. I've talked so much about that in the past that I won't do it again right now. So, next stream, Wednesday, 11 a.m. Brand new library that we're going to take a look at. That till 2 weeks ago I have never heard about. And I'm pretty sure you have never heard about it either, because it's pretty new. But it's really good. So tune in for, what is it called? The Undying Sun, I think. And we give away a copy of the library. I think it's $150 or something. It's a guy from the Netherlands who recorded that all at home. And it's really good. So tune in next Wednesday, 11 a.m. We're doing a giveaway. See you around. Thank you so much for watching. And I leave you into the night with just one more run through of that little cue we've done. Talk soon. See you later. Bye-bye.